as many as 4 Republican senators are withholding support for Labor Secretary nominee Andrew Puzder. Now, this is because of recent revelations indicating that he might have had an abusive relationship with an ex-wife, but also the fact that he employed an undocumented immigrant for a number of years. Now, Andrew Puzder, again, is the nominee for Labor Secretary, and he has not been confirmed yet. He's one of the last individuals to be confirmed into Trump's administration. Now, GOP Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Tim Scott of South Carolina, and Johnny Isakson of Georgia have all said that they're a little hesitant about Puzder. Now, if at least 2 of the 4 reluctant Republicans cannot be swayed, Mitch McConnell could face the unwelcome task of advising the White House to pull the nomination instead of facing an embarrassing Senate floor defeat. Now, McConnell has said that he doesn't plan on doing that. He plans on working very hard to convince these Republicans to come on board. And just to give you the numbers, only 2 Republicans can vote against him, and he can still get confirmed. So with 4 being hesitant about him, it's a little bit of a problem. Now, senators in both parties have viewed an episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show in which President Donald Trump's Labor Secretary nominee, Puzder, his former wife, leveled allegations of abuse against him. The episode is called High Class Battered Women, according to a source familiar with the matter. It aired back in March of 1990. Also, to give you some more insight into this video, which has not been made public, and Oprah Winfrey and her team do not plan on making it public, Lisa Furstein appeared in disguise on Oprah to discuss her abuse allegations, which she has since retracted, most recently in a letter to the Senate HELP Committee. Also, the fast food executive also apprenticed to a mafia-connected lawyer early in his career, drew criticisms for conditions for workers at his CKE restaurant chain, and faced accusations of sexism over advertisements showing bikini-clad women eating his company's hamburgers. Those are the Carl's Jr. or Hardee's commercials showing the women like making love to burgers.
Not guilty. Okay, so look, let's go after the guy for real reasons. So I'm much more worried about his policy positions. He is not in favor of labor. He is on management's side. He has fought labor throughout his entire career, does not believe in higher wages, and now they're putting him in charge of the Secretary Department of Labor, maybe, so that he could work against the interests of labor. I'm less worried about Paris Hilton ads and bikinis than I am about that.
Yeah, I agree.
The wife's accusations are very serious, but she withdrew them all. By the way, police should look into charging her because she was very specific about the assault that he had committed. If she was lying about all of those specific charges of how he beat her and how she needed protection from him, that's very heavy charges to make up, which she now says she made them up.
Right.
So,
and also, just to give you a little bit of a timeline, she made some of those accusations prior to their divorce in 1986. So that's something to keep in mind as well. We don't know whether those accusations are true, but they're troubling enough for some Senate Republicans to kind of hesitate on confirming him.
Some people say awful things during divorce proceedings to get more money, or they say things before she gets divorced, like she did 2 years earlier, and then later, when he puts up a lot of money, they retract the story. In fact, that happened with Ivana Trump, said that she was raped by Donald Trump, and then later retracted after settlements. So this has happened before. But now we have a breaking news on this story, because there's another Republican senator, Rob Portman, who talked to Ryan Grimm on the Young Turks. Ryan was both taping it and on Facebook Live when Rob Portman, senator from Ohio, came by, and he is also non-committal on Puzder. And that is very interesting. Let's watch.
Have you decided on how you're going to vote on him, and are you getting a lot of pressure from your state on that nomination?
Not as much as others, because he hasn't had his hearing yet, and I'm waiting for his hearing also. I mean, people want to wait and see what his approach is going to be to the issues, and also what his response is going to be to some of the concerns. So, no, I have not made a decision yet, and I think his hearing is scheduled for Thursday, and I'll be watching that closely.
So Ryan's also the Washington bureau chief of the Huffington Post, but there he was doing a story for the Young Turks when Portman actually happened to walk by, and Ryan asked him a number of questions, including that one. So that's very interesting. So if you're not familiar with the nitty-gritty of politics, you might think, well, that was kind of a benign answer. I'll wait for the hearings. No, normally, if you're from that party, you say, oh, that's our guy, and there's no issues at all. When a senator on his side of the aisle goes, I don't know, I'll have to see, that is not good news. So add Rob Portman to the list of Republican senators that they need to convince. And if they only lose 3, 2 would give you a tie that Mike Pence could break like he did with Betsy DeVos. If they lose 3, well, then he's going to go down. And so now if you've got 5 or 6 Republican senators who are cautious about him, well, his chances went down significantly because of that story.
Man, look, I feel like previous administrations, previous presidents did a considerable amount of vetting before they nominated anyone. And these nominations have been a complete and utter disaster. Just a complete and utter disaster for the Trump administration. How do you not look into, like, by the way, the fact that he employed an undocumented immigrant, which I don't demonize people who do that, but the Trump administration certainly does.
No, it's disqualifying.
It's disqualifying, right?
It's not disqualifying if you're a person who is decent to undocumented immigrants and you go, hey, listen, the guy needed a job, whatever, right? So, and you could be mad about that, and that's a legitimate issue under any circumstance. But if you're the Trump administration and your whole thing is, I got to build a wall because these undocumented immigrants are criminals and rapists and they're coming here and they're destroying the country and I'm deporting them all, and you're Secretary of Labor, okay, the guy whose job is to make sure that Americans get jobs and not undocumented immigrants, according to your own administration, had undocumented immigrants, didn't pay taxes on them for years and years. That is, of course, disqualifying, let alone your stance on labor. Now, I get it, Trump hates labor, and by the way, Trump has also used undocumented immigrants.
Yes.
So, I mean, the hypocrisy is legendary, right? But as a Republican, I get that you want to destroy any attempt of labor to actually get a decent living wage. So on those policy grounds, I would oppose him, but he gets to pick the people that he wants. But on the issue of the undocumented immigrant, that's Trump's own policy that he brazenly violated. Obviously, Trump wasn't president at the time, but that's the guy you picked. That tells me you actually don't care about undocumented immigrants at all.
Or that he doesn't do any vetting whatsoever, that he's unprepared, he has no idea what he's doing. It's not just Puzder. I mean, what happened with Michael Flynn, what happened with Betsy DeVos, and how troubling that whole confirmation was, right?
By the way, if you're wondering why Puzder, why do they care so much that they're going to go through all this? Well, the Chamber of Commerce loves Puzder because they represent big business. They represent multinational corporations. And Puzder, based on his record, will make sure that he keeps wages as low as humanly possible. He has fought against higher wages his entire career. So they put the fox in charge of the hen house, and they say, okay, now make sure you crush labor. So the Chamber of Commerce, despite all these controversies, is lobbying full speed ahead and telling all the Republicans, don't back down. Don't back down. This is our guy. Remember all that money we gave you. We're your top donors. Make sure you put Puzder in. We don't give a damn what kind of a hypocrite he is. Let's put some watchers on the wall. Investigative journalists to run down the Trump administration and the establishment. You can make that happen. TYTnetwork.com/go.